This hour on NCC News, what to expect with Central New York's latest winter storm.
And could the Zika virus have made its way to New York?
And a look at the voter registration numbers in Onondaga County as we get closer to the New York primary. NCC News starts right now. Welcome to NCC News Live at 4. I'm Maddy Oleszkiewicz.
And I'm Paola Suro. Let's get right to the top story.
Here's what you need to know for your commute home. Time to break out the ice scrapers and snow shovels. The National Weather Service has put out a lake effect snow warning for central New York, saying that travel will be dangerous if not impossible. This warning will be in effect until early Friday morning. Already, we've started to see the effects of this snow. Earlier today, first responders say low visibility and slippery road conditions may have been to blame in a car accident. That accident shut down part of I-690 this morning for almost an hour. That is the second weather-related accident on I-690 in 2 days. Snow showers are picking up this afternoon and are only expected to get heavier tonight. Syracuse is expected to get hit with almost a foot of snow before the storm stops tomorrow night. After the storm stops, the National Weather Service warns that strong gusts of wind will continue to blow snow around. That could mean low visibility well into the weekend.
Residents from the Baldwinsville School District approved a new project to build a transportation center. NCC reporter Hearns Laguerre Jr. says the plans that are in motion will help reduce bus traffic.
In Baldwinsville, $32 million capital project, a large portion of that project is dedicated to its new transportation facility. This move is ensured to better the facilities to provide students with a safe and healthy learning environment. The district ensures that this move will better the facilities to better provide students with a safe and healthy learning environment. Currently, the area is covered with trees, but will be renovated for the move. The new garage will give more space for the buses.
By a wide margin, 74% yes to 26% no. We probably occupy the building in the late summer of 2018. We had some concern by the neighbors of having 100 diesel-powered vehicles right in their backyards. Starting them up in the morning in the winter and running the engines a lot and diesel fumes and things like that. I mean, legitimate environmental and life things. So we decided to look elsewhere, and we wanted to put it in an industrial park because it's not near any homes, not near any residences.
So like he said, there were complaints by previous neighbors who said that the buses will provide too much of a disturbance for them. But because of that, that's why they're moving to the location that they are now. For NCC News, I'm Hearns Laguerre Jr.
Workers are determining what caused an equipment failure at Oswego County's nuclear power plant this morning. Between 3 and 4 a.m., the power plant siren went off 2 times when there was no emergency. According to the County Emergency Management Office Director, workers are currently repairing the equipment and backup sirens will be in place during the reconstruction. When an emergency does occur, sirens sound for 3 minutes, alerting residents to tune in to a local emergency alert system station for more information.
A Baldwinsville man who was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison claims his innocence Wednesday morning. He is accused of drowning 17-year-old Anna Rose Shove. 33-year-old Steven Zadanek was convicted of second-degree murder back in December. According to prosecutors in court, Zadanek's DNA was found under Shove's fingernails after her body was pulled out of Lake Ontario on August 2014. This is Zadanek's third felony, but he stressed to an Oswego County judge that he did not do it.
The first case of the Zika virus in New York may have hit Albany. A Schenectady mother is being tested for the virus after her child was born with an abnormally small head, which is one of the birth defects linked to the virus. The birth comes shortly after the mother's return from South America, where the Zika virus is widespread. If the mother's test results show positive, this would be the first case in the continental U.S. of a baby born to a mother with the virus. According to the health department, it could take up to 21 days before they receive any results from this case. And 23 people have died within the past 2 weeks due to a heroin overdose in Buffalo, according to Erie County officials. The overdose is due to a high-powered batch of heroin, with at least 19 of the 23 cases being related to heroin laced with an extremely fatal batch of fentanyl. According to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, fentanyl is 30 to 50 times more powerful than heroin, and the additional drug has had a powerful impact on central New York. Over the past year, 11 people who have died due to drug overdoses in central New York have had both heroin and fentanyl in their systems.
And with the presidential election less than a year away, more people in Onondaga County are making sure their votes count. According to the Onondaga County Board of Elections, this year there's already more than 2,700 people registered to vote compared to last year. They expect this number will keep increasing as we get closer to the New York primary election on April 19th. You must be registered to vote by March 25th in order to vote on the primaries, so make sure your voice is heard and register. To learn how, you can contact the Onondaga County Board of Elections at 315-435-8683. And two companies in Van Buren are getting a total of $5.2 million in tax exemptions in order to expand their companies. The plan will create a total of 135 jobs. The property, sales, and mortgage tax exemptions will save GNC more than $1 million. The local food distribution center is expected to employ 85 additional people. GNC's expansion project is expected to cost about $18 million. Now, the second company, Tessie Plastics, will save a little over $2 million with the tax exemptions. The maker of plastic parts for medical and consumer products say their expansion will create at least 50 jobs. This plan was approved by the Onondaga County Industrial Developmental Agency on a 5-0 vote.
Syracuse Winterfest begins tomorrow, but without two of its most popular events. The chili and chowder cook-offs have both been canceled. Syracuse Winterfest is 11 days filled with dozens of activities for Central New Yorkers to enjoy, including parties, indoor and outdoor tastings, and competitions. The chili and chowder cook-off set for February 20th and the 21st did not receive enough participants, according to the city of Syracuse. Winterfest's website says that the decline in cook-off entries could be due to increased paperwork required for participants this year. All Syracuse Winterfest activities are listed at NCC News online. The Syracuse Auto Dealers Association will hold its 18th annual charity preview tonight at 6:30 p.m. The charity marks the start of the 2016 Syracuse Auto Expo that will display hundreds of new cars and trucks this Thursday through Sunday at the On Center. History Channel's Counting Cars host Ryan Evans will be at the expo Saturday afternoon to sign autographs, while clowns, magicians, balloons, and face painting will also be available throughout the event.
And with that lake effect advisory in place, we go to NCC News weather correspondent Cole Ellenbogen for what we can expect for the rest of the day.
Thanks. That lake effect snowstorm is really just getting started. We saw some of the beginnings of that today. We've got some pretty heavy cloud cover sitting directly on top of Syracuse. Over the next 3 hours, you can expect to get between 2 to 4 more inches of snow. And over the next 24 hours, we could have as much as an additional foot. But right now, the temperature is about 29 degrees, roughly typical for this time of year, about halfway between the average high and low. And if you take a look at the record temperatures for this time of year, with 56 being the record high and minus 17 being the record low, we're definitely pretty far away from both of those as well. But what you really have to watch out for today is ice. If you look behind me, when you have gradual snow accumulation like we have here out on University Avenue, the snow piles up on the road and gets melted by passing cars, so that snow turns into slush, and that slush will freeze, making for some bad driving conditions. For more on what's going on and for the full weather forecast, stick around for my full forecast at 4:45.
Thanks, Cole. Coming up next, we chat with our senior political analyst, Maddy about the impact last night's primary results will have on campaigns moving forward.
Some of the results of the New Hampshire primaries yesterday were expected, but some came as a surprise. Bernie Sanders surged past Hillary Clinton, clenching over 60% of the votes. For Republicans, Donald Trump swept past opponents with 35% of votes. In Ohio, Governor John Kasich surged to a second-place finish behind Trump. Going forward, Farsi says Sanders will need to use this victory to get more support and money if he wants to beat Clinton. And for Republicans, it will be about who will rise to the alternative to Trump. Our senior political analyst, Maddy is live in studio to answer some questions about the New Hampshire primaries and updates on candidates suspending their campaign. Maddy, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. The results in New Hampshire did not mirror what we saw earlier this month in Iowa. What does this mean on both the Republican and Democratic sides?
Well, Maddy, I think the differing results in Iowa and New Hampshire really show that we do actually have a race on our hands. And if we take a look at the Republican side first, Donald Trump finished on top in New Hampshire yesterday, but was edged out by Ted Cruz in Iowa. And the governor of Ohio, John Kasich, who is not even in the top 5 in the Iowa results, edged out Ted Cruz in New Hampshire, receiving the second largest percentage of the Republican vote. So essentially, aside from Trump, it seems Republican support is divided amongst a handful of other candidates as to who can really take on Donald Trump to compete for that Republican nomination. And then if we look at the Democratic side, it's playing out very differently. There are 2 clear candidates vying for the nominations with Sanders and Clinton. Clinton, who edged out Sanders in Iowa, and Sanders, who won by a large margin in New Hampshire. So I think the results for both Iowa and New Hampshire have proven that there is a lot of serious campaigning and speculation and possibly surprises coming our way as we head into South Carolina and Nevada.
Just announced that he is planning to suspend his campaign today, and Fiorina took to Twitter and Facebook to suspend her campaign. How is this news going to affect the race?
Well, after Iowa, we saw O'Malley and Huckabee both suspend their campaigns, and as we continue forward with so many Republican candidates, I think that we will actually continue to see this happening. Christie, despite his strong debate performance that actually created so much buzz and seemingly took away from support from Ted Cruz that night, it just was not enough to generate votes for him in New Hampshire. And Fiorina's announcement was actually an official suspension, and in this announcement she stated that though she will suspend her campaign, she will continue to fight to restore this country. And neither Christie's possible suspension nor Fiorina's official announcement really come as a surprise, as they've both kind of been polling outside of that top 5 in the Republican race. It is so crazy.
Well, thank you so much for those updates, Maddy. And next up on the campaign trail, we are looking to February 20th when the Republicans vote in South Carolina and the Democrats have their caucus in Nevada.
And coming up, will Kennedy's killer finally be freed? And major changes coming to a popular social networking app. That and more just after the break. here's a look at what's happening across the nation. The man convicted of killing Robert F. Kennedy is up for parole once again today. Sirhan Sirhan is sentenced to life in prison. The parole board has rejected parole previously because they say Sirhan does not show remorse for the killing. Kennedy was shot in a Los Angeles hotel in 1968, just 5 years after his brother, John F. Kennedy, was assassinated. A bystander says he is sure that there was another person who actually shot Robert F. Kennedy. He is calling for the case to be reopened. The bystander was shot in the assassination attempt, but only injured. And Beyonce haters are getting information. The famous singer is getting some backlash after her Super Bowl performance and newly released Formation music video. In fact, people will be protesting outside of the NFL headquarters Tuesday, February 16th. They argue that her performance and music video showed hate speech and racism because of its references to the Black Panthers and the Black Lives Matter movement. Queen Bee, as she is known, has received criticism from politicians for being anti-police. Now, the organizer of the rally remains unnamed, but insists that those participating should do so in a peaceful and respectful manner. And Twitter lovers, if you're wondering why your timeline may look different, here is why. The company created an algorithm that will show the tweets most people want to see at the top of your timeline. What this means is that tweets will no longer be in chronological order unless you want them to. Twitter is making sure to give you the option of turning this on or off in the next coming weeks. The company claims that if users leave the option on, it will give them a better experience because you will no longer miss the best tweets when you are away from the app.
Pope Francis will arrive in Mexico this Friday to stand with migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border to show solidarity. The Pope is planning to hold a cross-border mass on February 17th, where 200,000 people from Mexico and 50,000 people from Texas are expected to attend. The Pope's visit comes at a time where the number of migrants are entering and seeking refuge in U.S. territory. Leading up to the Mass, the Pope will travel along the border offering prayers for migrants. 4 people were killed after a plane crash in Indonesia today. According to a senior official, an Indonesian Air Force plane was on a routine maintenance flight when it crashed into a house on the main island of Java. The crash killed both people on board and 2 people inside the home. A neighbor who witnessed the crash said the plane appeared to be out of control, with smoke coming from the back when it crashed.
The average American spends $126 on their sweetheart for Valentine's Day. NCC reporter Cole Ellenbogen has the story on how one church plans to draw in couples and put some of that holiday spending toward a good cause.
I think food always brings people together, and especially chocolate. You just say the word and people just light up.
Tom Redmore created the Taste of Chocolate event 6 years ago. He explains that he wanted to put on a fun, low-cost activity for the community, which still raised money for a good cause.
People can come here and enjoy themselves for a little while and not have to spend a ton of money. Everybody comes with their own special recipe, and so that gives us such a huge array of different kinds of chocolates.
The event will be taking place this Saturday from 1 to 4 at the church, which is located at the intersection of routes 11 and 20 in Lafayette. Pastor Sean Rayburn says you shouldn't let the fact that you aren't part of the church keep you from coming. Everyone is welcome.
The folks that buy is across the spectrum. We have kids from the high school who come to purchase, who live here right in our community, who come and purchase, but we also have some folks who are 100 years old who come and buy as well.
The pastor says this sentiment is exactly what his church is all about.
This church, this congregation, is very much into hospitality, into taking care of the people here in our community.
And the best part is half of that money goes to the church and the other half goes to the Lafayette Interfaith Food Pantry. So no matter how much you spend, all of it is going to go to a good place.
Thank you so much, Cole. And next, Jim O'Shea gives us a look at how the Crunch have been so successful here in Syracuse. Stay with us.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. People may call Syracuse a basketball town, but the Crunch have made huge strides on and off the ice recently that have brought hockey to the forefront of not just Central New York, but the entire country. Syracuse Crunch are one of only 6 AHL teams that has been around for over 20 years. One member of the Crunch staff says the team has been able to stay here for so long because of the citizens rallying around the club.
And the crowd support is second to none. I mean, you know, between that and the corporate, that's the reason we're here as an organization in our 22nd year.
But organization success ultimately comes down to the people working for the team. Even though the AHL season stretches from October through late April and sometimes even May and June, the Crunch staff keeps up the same effort all the way through.
The season's not going to stop for anyone. We're full speed ahead. We'll take our time in the summer right at the end, right before we go into full sales season.
This hard work pays off when the big events come around. Syracuse has hosted the All-Star Game this year, the game in the Carrier Dome in 2014 that broke the attendance record for an indoor hockey game. Against the St. John's Ice Caps. All the full sports report in the 445 show with a look at how the Knicks did in their first game under new head coach Kurt Rambis and a presidential candidate that was getting some jump shots up last night in New Hampshire.
Thanks, Jim, and how one dad decided honesty was the best policy when explaining why his daughter was late to school.
We have that story for you and a look at our 445 show in just a few minutes.